his head, and coming into this final day, I'm pretty sure he's looking to put up a good performance here and at least get some millions under his belt.
Well, you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're about to drop into game. Not sure if we can head over to our casters just yet. We have Sanuk coming up here in just a few seconds, but we will be going on over to them here. So, gentlemen, it is time to get into our final day, our first match. Hotchukes and Kalaris, I can't have the energy. You bring it, Hotchukes.
Don't you worry, Jason. The energy has arrived. Oh. The arena is sparkling. My arms are tingling. It's the final day of the PMWI main tournament live here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Kalaris, 2 days down. It all comes down to this. You ready?
I'm very ready, as all of these teams need to be ready for Sanuk, for potentially a brutal playing path. I mean, technically on Sanuk, you can kind of always get anywhere you need to get anyway. It is the smaller battleground, but still not exactly the greatest of playing paths to start things off for these teams. And I guess the questions I'm going to pose that I posed at the end of yesterday, I'm going to pose again. 1. How hard can Vampire win this tournament? How many points can they rack up at the top? Or 2, could someone make the miracle run and try and catch up? Those are my 2 questions for today.
It's going to have to be one heck of a run. It's going to be a marathon, as a matter of fact, here at this point. Not to mention, you know, this plane path, it's actually a really good one for Vampire. You know, it's right down their main line. They're going to be one of the fastest teams to drop right there on Ruins, so they're going to be able to get looted up quick. It's a favorable circle for them as well. So it's going to really depend on how it starts off today. Literally, all their goal has to be is just match the teams that are right behind them. As long as they do as good, it's in the bag.
Absolutely. And even those teams would then need to have a massive day to try and catch up to the literal deities that are sitting at the top at the moment. But Vampire, the one question you pose for a team like this as well, given the position that they're currently in, is, okay, so we're on the southwest island. Our big question right now is, how would we transfer to the mainland if we need to? There are some ways. The bridge north of Painan can sometimes be open. You can sometimes make that happen. However, sometimes you don't want to risk that too much, so you sometimes have that kind of wider rotate coming in round. You try and go maybe south, but for the most part, I don't think they're too stressed.
I don't think so either. There's plenty of time left on the clock, but look you know what's stressed out? GK. Again, hot dropping in Paradise Resort. So this entire tournament, this is what they've been doing. They do not want to give it up. And honestly, it's a pretty big surprise to me here because they are in 5th place. The difference in price pool from 5th on up jumps significantly every single placement. So GK risking a fight here is going to be interesting. I think like them to see just give this up. You know, hey, get the loot, take off, deal with the fighting in the late game because you're most likely going to lose a couple in the process.
Yeah, I mean, look at the adaptation from, as we see a few more rotates against one another. Got to be careful about Fireflux in the distance. The adaptation is quite different. Oh, Ketch is actually charging up an aid here.
Uh-oh.
This could actually hit big. Really big. Really big. Oh! He was a firecracker in his region, and now he's going to be a firecracker here as well to start things off. Rejects is in full retreat.
Wow! Catch, unbelievable. Does get caught by Ragey in the process, but Solus has his back. What a play there. Ooh. Lay down nade, so they have no clue where he's from, where he is.
Yep.
Right? Then sees him drive away, stands up, beams them out the UAS. What a play there from Fireflux.
These are the kind of plays we're used to seeing from him in our region. He is absolutely blasting usually. So good for Fireflux to try and make that catch-up happen. They're currently middle of the table, 4 elim points on the board. And for them, yeah, I mean, brilliant stuff so far. But I do briefly want to go back to the D plus Kia situation up against GK. Both teams are being far more passive than the previous 2 Sandhogs. They realize the severity of the situation. They're currently coexisting with one another. I am going to make the bold claim that I think both teams get out with 4 and go elsewhere.
I think that's the great play, honestly. I mean, at a certain point, you have to just look at each other and feel like it's not worth it, boys.
Absolutely.
You know, because even if they do win the fight, like I talked about earlier, they're going to lose a player, lose 2. And where they're sitting at in the leaderboards, they just cannot afford it right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing them kind of have that little small. Let's take a look at the free play, though. Look at that. catch with the nade, pops him out the ride, run over on top of it, soulless, just beautifully executed.
It was very well orchestrated, right? As you say, like with the execution coming on in here from them, very, very well done. They had that kind of 1-2 punch straight away of the nade into the spray, into the car, the reinforcements coming along. So Ketch had a great amount of time to be able to plan that as he was kind of just, you know, chilling, waiting for it to occur. Really, really good stuff.
Gotta watch out for those snakes in the grass, that's for sure.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about the whole totality here of the tournament. Remember, guys, there's $2 million here at stake. $400,000 for first place, $200,000 for second, and it goes down from there. Now, just to kind of reiterate the craziness of Vampire's performance, they literally could almost come into today and not play at all and still win first place.
Probably, yes.
That's how insane it is. I mean, Stalwart Esports, a team majority of the roster here, you know, picked to win this tournament. They got 50 points in 2 days of play.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see a team do that here in one. And that is 6-8. One of the teams that needs to do a performance like that, and they're gonna lose 2 players early on. That's a huge pickup for Gladiators.
It's a huge deal. If you're wanting to make a miracle run here from second place to try and get yourself to first, even at all, this is very important for 6-8 to get out of a situation. But losing people this early, yeah, it slowly crumbles.
100%. Now, Gladiators, they are sitting in 7th place. So if they're going to take out any team, 6-8 is the one, because catching Vampire, it's not in the cards. But Navy trying to steal a second place performance with a monster day.
Yep.
Heck, that's how you start it off there. So they are going to start it off with 2 eliminations. That's going to definitely help them out. The nerves are going to kick in big time here in that final stage, because there's just so much on the line. Next zone, about to pop on over. All right, is he going to center up, and we're going to have to deal with 2 split islands? Will it hard shift? Let's see.
Let's indeed. For Gladiators, obviously, up at that trifecta, they've got good transition paths if they need it from that position that they've just fought 6-8 in. We've seen them time and time again just defend that location, try and scramble for it. It is quite the divide on this, a little bit mainland leaning, but there is still enough of that southwest island in play to cause concern for these teams.
100%. Yeah, I think that a lot of these teams are going to try to get in that Pine-On area so that they can kind of just hedge their bets. But this is a tough zone. I mean, you have to really take a gamble. Where do you think the circle's going to go? Is it going to center up again? Hard shift on either side? It could pretty much go anywhere. Meanwhile, we see Vampire, our top team in the lobby, hanging out on the edge like they usually do. They stay so quiet, wait for teams to kind of get into the mix of things, and then just steal eliminations as they go.
I mean, whilst we've been in the back watching the games that we're not casting, you've done a great job of identifying when Vampire can strike out from those edge plays, right? We saw it on Miramar, where, you know, halfway through the game, they're kind of on an edge situation, not really in the middle, not really in the midst of all the fighting, but they know exactly when to make those rotations. We saw it on Miramar yesterday as well,
yes,
when they were on the west side, and they were moving into those troughs that were kind of alongside those roads. So I can only imagine here. We haven't seen that many Sandhawks, so we have a small sample size to go from here regarding Vampire, but they're very, very adept at being able to know when to transition mostly, as opposed to just kind of going for a crazy send too early or too late.
Yeah, and I think they have such a just magnificent understanding of this game and the competitiveness of this lobby, because all these other teams are scrambling to get a really good spot. Meanwhile, they're one of the only ones that are just hanging on the edge to say, you know what?
Right.
We know that we're so far ahead. All we have to do is just survive. Just put a few points on the board, it's GG, right?
You were talking to them, and they're baffled almost with the other teams. Baffled by how well Vampire's been able to cope, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I was having dinner with some of the players, some of the coaches last night, and we were just joking and laughing at how crazy this performance is. Some of them thinking, is it luck? Some of them credited to Tony K's use of the Mini 14. They're saying that, you know what, we're all studying the Mini now, because they say, you knock player? Boom! Tony K Mini 14, pop, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And so he's like, all of our players are not focusing on the Mini 14. But other than that, you know, they said that they had a harder time in the All-Star stage.
Yes,
They were
technically at the moment, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
they were like, they had a harder performance then compared to now, and this lobby's insane.
I mean, you make a good point about the Mini and the DMR, and how looking at how he's been able to use it so far. One of the absolute critical things about when you pick up a Mini and you're able to get it is having an extended mag on it. If you've only got 10 shots, yeah, okay, you might knock someone, and yeah, you're not really able to follow up with the complete thirst overall, but having 20 shots on it with extended makes all the world of difference. You can very rapidly follow up a knock and then get that confirmation on the elimination. So yeah, I mean, as long as you've got the right tools for the job, man, like that Mini, the DMR meta, I think it's rapidly approaching for these teams.
I think so too. And the thing about their strategy, it seems to always be hanging on the edge, waiting for teams to fight, and they just watch. They stay really quiet. They don't want any attention on them. Then they see a player get knocked, and they have such good sights with that Mini that they just go pop, pop, finish the elimination, and just steal points. I wish we had a counter that could show how many eliminations were with the Mini and how many were stolen. And I guarantee you with Vampire, it's going to be through the roof.
You think Tony K is just absolutely blasting? I mean, we're already witnessing it. We are witnessing it in motion here. And again, what we've seen so far from them over the last 2 days is nigh on unthinkable. But let's see what they're able to do in day number 3, as their stiffest competition in 6-8 so far is not having a good start here on Sanuk. Bit of a rough one. The circle's already shifted as well. We have mostly mainland now in play. That's going to edge these teams towards that mainland, trying to get themselves a good spot. But quite a lot of room is already taken up by the likes of Fireflux, by the likes of Box, that have got themselves a decent center compound.
And that has a lot to do with this last zone. You know, since it was so split between 2 islands, there was a lot of congestion on either side. But now that it's really shifted towards mainland, all those spots, like you mentioned, they're taken. Meanwhile, we're seeing Team Falcons, Tianba, GK, all on the edge of that circle. They're going to have to push here in the next few minutes. I'm keeping an eye on these top teams to see how they handle a circle like this.
And GK is one of those teams that we were mentioning from that Paradise Resort situation, right? They found themselves in boot camp currently. They do have Ragnar forwards here to try and scout things out. Ultimately, it's a very mature decision to not take things absolutely, aggressively in Paradise Resort, when this is your last opportunity on Sanuk to get some points. Both of those teams, as we kind of predicted, did get out as a full 4 force. And now, Tiamba's going to take some shots over towards 6. Does not quite get him. Gets him a few clipped shots. Oh! But GK will follow it up. Gets the knock.
Hope with a nice take right there. You can see him going to go for that finish. And he does most likely get that confirmed. I'll tell you what, getting these confirms right now is so important. I think a lot of these teams did their homework and just saw how dire it is to, the second you get that knock, instantly thirst, because if not, it's going to get stolen.
But the steals, especially in the later stages of the game, we talked about it in day number 1, where teams, because it's such a high level lobby, are surviving longer into that mid to late game. So steals are far more likely. You need to be voracious about that knock, and then eventually the finish to confirm.
Next zone about to pop on over. 40 seconds still left on the clock. You can see the intensity in these players' eyes. They are locked, loaded, and ready to go. Fnatic getting a nice shot there on the rules. OG. Tianba over again. Battling it out with GK. They do get their revenge here. They get another player. Beautifully done for them. Team Falcons pushing. This is a very risky. They do get one knock. Also, is going to full lay down right now. And meanwhile, Team Falcons are stuck in the blue zone.
QBZ map specifics able to do quite a lot of damage from distance. M16 though from Kosu hitting Falcons once again. Falcons is really bleeding out here, and for the most part, D plus Kia might be able to hold them out completely.
And I believe those were steals as well. So yeah, I mean, D plus Kia getting stolen a couple by Box Gaming, and that is the nature of the beast. They did end up getting 2 of those eliminations though. Meanwhile, this is a huge battle. This is 6-8 versus Vampire, the first place team versus the second. 6-8 needs to stop them now if they want to have a chance of going for that championship title.
Yeah, because 6-8 lost people earlier, their rotations have been disrupted quite a bit, and that has kind of dragged them into the Vampire situation, who are happy to play edge. Tian Yu, though, will be able to take out another member of GK. GK slowly bleeding out. Yes, they're in 4th place because of the 2 elims they've been able to garner so far, but this is very difficult for them up in the north. I don't know if they're able to continue on this game in the campaign.
They're trying to hold it down. They only have 2 players up. It's going to be tough for them, and it's going to be tough as well for 6-8, which they did lose 2. Meanwhile, Alpha 7, they want to take that 2nd place title. back away from 628. They are battling it out with Fireflux. Senatexa trying to get those shots underneath the vehicle on Soke. Here comes the Molotov. It's looking real good. Soke does stand up, but getting picked off once again. Meanwhile, Senatexa from the back line. He's going to throw the nade. Does he connect? He does.
It's an important fight for an important location here, and it will be Alpha 7 taking out Fireflux quite quickly on all of this. Now that Alpha 7 here has got to bunker down and try and hold on, because there's the potential other teams come up on this. If you're thinking about Infinity IQ, they're currently on the other side of them. Sending it up this hill from the compound that they're in is kind of important, being on the edge that they are. I think Alpha 7's got to weather the storm and ready up for the next one to come.
Yeah, you saw them instantly throwing out those smokes towards Infinity IQ, just trying to buy some time for themselves to get those reses, and they do get them. So they are going to have 4 players up. Meanwhile, we see GK getting picked apart. Gladiators on the job of gatekeeping the rest of these teams. You can see Tixie up front, keeping an eye on Tianba. Oh, okay, Tian Yu tried to get the finish, and I believe he did. He did get it out of Ragnar, but he's going to go out in the process with only 3 eliminations.
Can't get out of that northern situation there when you're outside the circle. Another push on here. DRS trying to deal with Alter Ego. DBS in hand. Delta able to do quite a bit of damage against Potato. He will go down, but at the same time, Fnatic coming in here to try and go for the trade, but they're going to be eliminated
here. Killer on the reses. DRS with some points on the board.
Beautiful shutdown there, and they keep everyone alive. That is what's so important. Meanwhile, we see Gladiators getting beat up by Papa Blue as they're starting to creep into this next circle. They do make it in on time. Next zone gonna pop, most likely gonna head towards that mainland.
Yeah.
Where exactly does it go? Okay, all the way up in the north. You know, Box Gaming, Alpha 7 are really happy about this.
This is fortunate for Gladiators as well. Generally, unless it's a circle that's on that northwest island, they're very slow about approaching circles on Sanuk. Obviously, you can't be slow if you're on the northwest island. That's where you drop, you know, that's how it goes. But with this, Gladiators is very used to this. They've just got to be mindful, though, of the potential that 628 might try and sneak in behind them, and then they should be sitting pretty.
Yeah, 100%. In a zone like this, Gladiators need to be focusing on their backs. Everybody that is in that edge of that circle need to clear that backside before it pops on over to the next zone, because there's going to be a lot of teams creeping it in. And one of those squads, Twisted Minds, other, DRS, even Vampire Esports, about to go ahead and pop into this next circle.
I'm going to be honest, in Painan, Twisted Minds is way too spread thin. Like, they're going to be encouraged on very, very quickly here by Vampire, and I don't think you can hold that kind of split this late into a game when this many teams are still alive. So I think Vampire's got the potential of really, really punishing Twisted Minds here.
Well, you know, speaking of getting punished, DRS, Infinity IQ, about to get punished by the blue zone as it is creeping in on them. Alpha 7 are waiting, so they're going to battle it out between each other, and I think this is definitely the play. You want to get those eliminations because you're going to need those points, because trying to battle Alpha 7 in their position, good luck with that. Meanwhile, Mafioso, you can see him, yeah, just waiting for them to come towards him.
Vampire getting the worst end of this here, as they were also shot from STE on the other side. And Rollkiss will be able to take a big fight against them. FOK trying to work on out, but Flukiv will go down. And Vampire absolutely dunked on the west side of Painan. Excuse me, Twisted Minds dealt with it all right.
Hey, 0 points for Vampire, a very rare occurrence here at the start of the final day. Meanwhile, Alpha 7 starting to heat things up. Carrillo getting caught by Ferrari. That's going to make it tough. He tries to get another shot, but it's going to be Fox Gaming that are going to take him out. So a big help there on the side of Alpha 7. Meanwhile, Mafioso busting out the DBS. Oh, what an angle! Are you kidding me?
Very nicely done here. Mafioso really racking it up here for the team. 7 limbs on the board here for Alpha 7. They have a great opportunity here to catch up to 628, as right now it's going to be moving on up very nicely.
Yes, 628 and Vampire are already eliminated. This is Alpha 7's time to shine. 9 eliminations. They have the zone. They could not ask for anything more. They need nothing less than a chicken dinner with more than double-digit eliminations, and the chance is here. It's on a silver platter.
Yeah. Fun fact, actually, up until one of those got confirmed down the line, this was going to be Vampire's only 0-point game of the main tournament. However, it is still, with only 1 point, their lowest scoring game of the main tournament. So, there is an opportunity. It's a slim one, but you know what? If that continues, maybe.
I wouldn't say that the door has been opened just yet,
Yes.
but there's a hand on the knob.
I get you.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're
It's
saying.
on the knob. You know, is it too hot and you get to get off, or are they gonna turn it? We'll see here. It really depends on how Alpha 7 finishes this off. Meanwhile, you're gonna have them with the high ground in a perfect position.
Ooh.
This is where they thrive. Meanwhile, every other team is struggling trying to get into this next circle.
Mafioso's popping off on the other side. Alpha 7 is having a right run of this game at the moment here. They're taking fights in long range against Box, against Twisted Minds. They're holding them up on the left-hand side as well here, but looks like Stalwart trying to make a move up here as well. Against the teams on this west side, they're holding out Gladiators as well as looking at how we're seeing D plus Kia trying to hold it. It's not going to be for them though, but this could be Stalwart to win.
100%. Let's see who's going to take it. Oh, Stalwart do get the circle as well. So circle blessed right at the perfect moment. Meanwhile, Mafioso is putting a lot of pressure onto them. They do lose one player. So now Alpha 7 will have the player advantage going into the rest of this match, but they do not have the circle. One thing that they do have, though, is that high ground. How are they going to use it? Meanwhile, Gladiators trying to continue to put some points on the board. They want a big chunk of that prize pool, but it's Box Gaming trying to hold them down. Kitsune up in the front line, getting a beautiful knock there, and it's just Duck left, and he's wide in the open,
Oh,
and
he's
he's out of there.
Yeah, no way he was able to weather that as now Box is done here. Meanwhile, actually a really decent angle for Stalwart against what we're seeing from Alpha 7. But that being said, they still have a little bit of a ridge line that they can play with some of these rocks, etc., with some of these trees. But as the circle's going to bear on down, I don't know how you solve the Stalwart problem.
Oh my goodness, Alpha 7 is heating up 14 eliminations.
Ooh.
They don't have the zone, nothing they can do there, but they do go out with one heck of a performance. Now it's Stalwart's time to shine. It's 3 versus 1. Can Kitsune pull off a miracle?
He's a great player, but I think Stalwart might have had the bee's nest kicked coming into day number 3. They had obviously a very rough time in the previous. Goes for the nade, tries to connect, deals a bit of damage.
Oh, and now with the off angle, Kitsune, nothing
gone.
he could do. Beautifully done from Stalwart there. Great teamwork to get the chicken dinner when they need it, and that is a good, solid finish.
Yeah, a nice start here for Stalwart for day number 3, considering there was a few question marks around them. Let's talk about this, though. In the last 2 Sandhawks that they played before this, half of their points almost came from those 2 Sandhawks. So if you think about actually what they're doing here, they're very proficient on this battleground. They're excellent, but it doesn't account for enough games for them to be able to make that proper rise. So ERANGIL and Miramar, it's got to tighten up here.
Yep, 100%. And I will say this. If there was one map where they had a chance to possibly catch up on these leaders, it was